When developers are constructing homes or office spaces, do they really consider the disabled? Do the disabled feel left out in these kinds of designs? Well, we'll be having that conversation in not too long, but to show you our Property of the Week segment, this is what it's all about. Out of 18 units, only 6 remain for sale at Church Wells Apartments on Church Road, Westlands. Priced at $28 million, the 3-bedroom all-en-suite apartments have a detached servants' quarters that is adjacent to the main house. The solid mahogany door has a peephole and has a privacy consideration in that the door only opens from the inside and not the outside, unless of course you have the key. Right at the corner is the guest washroom with a wash sink and mirror. The living room is spacious with a beautiful bay window at the corner. Wall bracket lighting is on opposite walls with one side beautifully designed in wall master. A glass door on the side leads to the balcony that can be used to display outdoor furniture or potted plants. The living room flows to the dining room where the open plan kitchen is. The brown laminates on the kitchen cabinets contrast perfectly with the cream countertops. There is enough storage space in the cabinets and pull-out drawers. The pantry is also in the kitchen, a brown laminate door right next to the dining area. The laundry area is adjacent to the kitchen and the self-contained DSQ. Back inside the house, the bedroom corridor has a cabinet on the side with storage space and a water geyser for heating water. Adjacent to this is one of the rooms with the signature wood laminate flooring and spacious cabinets. The wash area is ceramic tiled with steel fixtures, a wash sink and mirror. The shower has a fitted rod for a shower curtain. The entryway to the master room has an array of wardrobes, one closet after another, catering for the needs of a couple. The bathroom has a full jacuzzi and a shower cubicle, a wash sink and mirror. The balcony has a twin sliding casement door, giving you a relaxing view. Water is supplied by Nairobi Water. There's also a borehole serving all units and a backup generator for common areas. Church Wells Apartments has close proximity to the Sarit Centre and St. Mary's School. It's obvious that after we use our tissue papers, we quickly throw out the tissue rolls. Well, today in our Property Essential segment, we show you a cool and unique way to use those tissue rolls for your walls. A little bit of wall art on your walls can give you a great new look, especially if you want to change your walls. Wall art is eye-catching and it definitely enhances your interior. If you're under a tight budget, it can be difficult to pick the wall art based on a theme. It is for that reason you ought to do it yourself and reflect all your creative ideas. This is probably one of the most exciting DIY techniques of all times. You may probably wonder why we have toilet paper rolls. Instead of discarding them, we keep them, but it's because we want to show you a unique way of using paper rolls for your wall art. Now here are the materials that you need: toilet paper rolls, a pair of scissors, glue, and of course your spray paint. Go for a simple and unique design. It is rare to imagine toilet paper rolls can be made into wonderful works of art to hang on your wall, but the result is amazing. Decorate your walls with toilet paper rolls, make some interesting shapes that will make your space more beautiful, and you don't have to be an artist to do so. So these are very simple steps that you can quickly do even by yourself. You don't necessarily need help. But this is the first step. You take up your toilet paper rolls and flatten them. So you flatten them out and make sure that they're all flat. All right, so now we're moving on to step 2. As you've already flattened out your paper rolls, the next step is to cut them out. These are 5 paper rolls, so you'll cut them into 5. Crush your toilet paper roll in halves and cut crossways. Begin gluing the pieces together. How you do it depends on what pattern you want. So as you can see, this is attached, and because it needs to hold, you then use your bobby pin to hold it. So simply just place the bobby pin and slide it inside. Now time for some spray paint. Spray away. All right, so as you spray your paper rolls, make sure you give it about 5 minutes for it to dry. Right, now with spray paint, it's good to let it dry out and let it dry out very well. So don't be too quick with it. As it dries, you'll see from the sides. So once you touch it, it doesn't leave color. So make sure it dries, and then when it dries, you can now put it up on your wall, as we will show you on our toilet paper roll wall art. Toilet paper roll art can be used on all your walls, be it the living room or even bedrooms. Another fun way to use this design is as a cardboard on your door entryway. Feel free to explore. How best do we ensure that the disabled in our community get the best homes? Well, that's just a quick teaser of what we'll be talking about in our interview right after this short commercial break. There are many factors that come into play when you're thinking of building your home or moving into a house. You think about location, you think about construction. These are some of the things that you look at. But what of those who are living with disability? Will they think about accessibility? Are these considerations looked into by developers and those who are in the property market? Well, that's our topic for today. We are looking at housing for persons with disabilities. What should be done to make sure that they can live as perfectly well as you and I? With us is David Sankok. He is the chairman of the National Council of Persons with Disabilities, and we get to delve straight into the discussion. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We really appreciate. Now tell us about NCPWD. A quick one.
Yes, National Council for Persons with Disability is a state corporation that came into being in the year 2004. It was enacted through an act of parliament in 2003. It was just maybe by coincidence that this act have been in parliament for more than 20 years, but nobody seemed to have cared about it. But then when the then President Kibaki became temporarily disabled and was using a wheelchair, then accessibility even in State House was a problem. Accessibility in Uhuru Park when he was being sworn in was actually a problem when he was being sworn in. So then everybody now started looking for issues to deal with accessibility of persons with disability, and that is why National Council was born through an Act of Parliament of 2003, session paper number 14.
Okay, so it's been a couple of years, from 2004 up until now, 2017. There are many roles that you have taken up as NCPWD. Could you quickly tell us that with regards especially to housing?
First of all, National Council for Persons with Disability advocate for the rights of persons with disability, register persons with disability, put a database to make sure that we know how many persons with disability we have in this country, who are 6 million, and we also have to know which type of disability that they have, because when we talk of accessibility, we talk of accessibility to buildings, we also talk of accessibility to information for those who are hearing impaired. So we also categorize persons with disability to make sure that we know their need, so that we can be able to plan as a government how to advocate for those needs. National Council for Persons with Disability pays school fees for children with disability in schools, also assist special schools and integrated school in the built environment to make sure that we adjust those environment in integrated schools so that they can be accessible to persons with disability. We also issue assistive devices for persons with disability, like wheelchairs, mobility devices like these ones of mine, so that at least they can live independent life as much as possible.
We've seen at least parking lots coming up for persons with disabilities. That's a good move, definitely, even in recreational centers. So we can say at least something is happening. What do you think from your perspective on that?
We may be persons with disability, but we have some pride left in us. You know, when now you make me more disabled by making an environment or housing not accessible to us, then it become a problem for us. Because if I have a wheelchair, I can be able to maneuver an accessible environment without necessarily disturbing anybody. Hence, I'm no longer disabled. But when then you put barriers in the form of staircases without lift and without ramps, then I become disabled. I will have to need somebody. I may not be having my own wife or my own relatives to carry me around. So I will ask for any stranger to assist me. And when they assist me, then they are infringing into my personal space, because they have to hold other areas that are not necessarily given to other people to come across. So surely we have some pride.
When we look at housing, buildings, whether it's a home or a rental, is there really anything happening in that sector? Are people with disabilities being considered?
The law is there and the policies are there that persons with disability should be considered in any built environment. But there are buildings that were built long time ago, and it has been a problem adjusting these buildings. And these buildings have not been accessible to persons with disability. The consideration of persons with disability was not taken into consideration. And also, the buildings that are coming up, there are people who see making your building accessible to persons with disability as an extra cost that does not actually give you returns. You remember even ATMs were not accessible to persons with disability until recently, that you see that at least you have one ATM that is accessible to persons with disability that is as low as possible. Toilets were not accessible to persons with disability. If a person with disability comes to a toilet, it is so tiny that if he is in a wheelchair, you have to be carried and maybe turn around as if it is an helicopter taking a bend. You know, it is really a bit shameful, and for us it diminishes our self-esteem. But now there are considerations that have been taken into place. It's only the problem is that Kenyans, we are good in policies, because we are number one in Africa for disability rights. But implementation of the same policy is a problem. You find that there's a policy that says that if you have a flats, for instance, then the ground floor is reserved for persons with disability.
But it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. And when you get tenants, you tell any tenant that want to live in the ground floor that in case we get a tenant with disability that want to live in the same house, you will be moved, as far as there is space upstairs, you will be moved to upstairs. But is it happening? It is not happening. And you know why it's not happening? Because even Parliament itself, until recently, when we were almost going on the streets, is when they made it accessible. The office of the majority leader was not accessible. The office of the Speaker of the National Assembly was not accessible to.
Are there any penalties that should be taken into consideration?
There is what we call performance contract that every ministry or every department of the government have to sign. Now what we have done was to make sure that every performance contract there is an indicator on disability mainstreaming. on disability mainstreaming is the issue of employment of persons with disability according to Article 54 of our Constitution of 5%, and then also the accessibility according to the Person with Disability Act of 2003. When we give those marks on performance contract, if then you have not done accessibility, then we will not award you the marks, and you will end up dropping in terms of marks in the performance contract of ministries, departments, and agencies of the government.
And how long has this been going on?
We have been giving these marks for the last 3 years, and I'm assuring you, no department, no government agency want to lose on these marks. And we give certificate for those who have complied with accessibility of person with disability. And then you'll find all now departments of the government, all ministries are competing to get more marks on the indicator of disability accessibility. This one I've taken us to another level in terms of the government. Now for the private sector, yes, because this is an investor. Yes. As a country, we are balancing between making sure that all our citizens are comfortable and also attracting more investors. Because if you chase them, the investors, then the country will collapse. So what we have done was to give them incentive. Any investor who then adjust their buildings and make sure that they are accessible to persons with disability, the taxes levied on the material used on accessibility are not taxed. They are forgiven the taxes. Literally, the government forego the taxes that you incur in making sure that your building is accessible to persons with disability. And again, what we have also done was to go to all those institutions that train architects and train civil engineers and give them what we call disability mainstreaming. This is what is required. This is the best practices that are being done elsewhere in the world, especially in the European countries, in America, and we have been able now to have graduates architecture who really understand the needs of persons with disability more than before. So now the buildings that are coming up, even an architecture cannot allow you to construct it or cannot draw the building without putting into consideration accessibility. Okay. We have incorporated a consultant who take accessibility audit in all buildings. And after taking the accessibility audit in all buildings, then we issue accessibility orders. In these accessibility orders, we will tell you professionally how you should adjust your building and how much it will cost to adjust this building and how much the government will forego if then you carry out this adjustment on time. If then you don't take the adjustment on time, then we take you to court because it is the law is there.
Well, what of schools that are catering for them in that regard?
Most of our schools and institutions of learning were actually constructed to fit the able-bodied, because what they used to know was that persons with disability will go to special schools. And you know, we will not have special universities, we will not have special job places. So we want these people to integrate as early as possible in that tender age so that they know each other and they know how to assist each other. Now, the challenge has become on accessibility. Because this school, we want it to be integrated, yet they only consider the person without disabilities. Now you find a person on a wheelchair accessing a classroom is a problem.
When we look at persons with disabilities, there are different kinds of disabilities out there. There's one who may be having a problem with hearing, problem with seeing, or problem with their legs. How do you ensure that all these are catered for, especially when you're building a home?
We advise, once we take the accessibility audit in our buildings, one of the advice we give you is not only ramps, we also give you the advice on the floor. Some of the floors are wax. And when they are wax, I'm assuring you, because I walk on crutches, I may lose my teeth because, you know, it becomes slippery. And also the doors, because for me, I walk on 4. And on 4, I'm a bit wider than you. So I need a wider space, I need a wider corridors so that I can be able to move. But thank God, our architects who have been graduating since 2014 are now aware of what are the needs of different categories of persons with disability. They will not only tell you about the ramp, they will even tell you about the talking lifts. Because if now you use signage, somebody is not seeing, we need somebody to hear. If you say there is in case of an emergency, yes, the siren will go off, there is somebody who cannot hear. So we also have that lighting system to make sure that somebody who cannot hear can be able to access to the information.
What are your final words to those who are developers and they are looking into constructing these homes, these apartments, rental buildings, and for those who are now persons with disabilities?
Yes, first of all, to the developers and to the investors. Persons with disability are 6 million in this country. That is a very big population to ignore. Persons with disability are very loyal, because if I know your building are accessible to me, I'll definitely become your customer. And I will not risk moving to another environment that I don't know. Yes, so I will be loyal to your business. Again, you employ persons with disability so that they can actually offer you advices as employees. Now, to persons with disabilities. We need opportunities, not sympathy. The issue of going on the streets begging, I'm sure nowadays we don't have persons with disability, Kenyans, begging in our streets. What we have had because of what the government have done for persons with disability in this country, offering them duty-free vehicles, tax exemption for all persons with disability, job opportunities for persons with disability, including a principal secretary by the name Joseph Tamkobe, representation in our county assembly, national assembly. So Kenya have become very favorable for persons with disability. So I can tell persons with disability, please, we need opportunities, not sympathy.
Asante sana. We really appreciate your time. Thank you, sir. Now, we've been talking about persons with disabilities. It is true that many of those who live with disabilities may not be enjoying all these benefits, especially in housing. But with the accessibility audit, many of you out there who are developers must comply to these rules and regulations to ensure that all those who are living with disabilities enjoy all these benefits. Everyone has a part to play to ensure that as we live in this community, no one is left out, especially when designing our homes or office spaces. Thank you so much for your time and company. That's all we have on today's show. Remember, next week we do it same time, same place here on NTV Property Show. And be quick to check out our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages. All you have to do is click NTV Property Show. See you next Sunday.